On Friday, December 13th, 8 p.m. I remember it vividly. I put on these boots, was down 2 million gold, desperate to find inspiration for a build, and this happened. And yeah, I pretty much lost my goddamn mind. Here's the deal. You're gonna have to sit down because you're gonna be learning some stuff today. There's a lot of interactions and a lot of information that you need to know. So here's a disclaimer. Mathematically speaking, these boots are too strong. They might be nerfed. I do not know. We'll have to wait and see. The other disclaimer is the version I'm going to show you is my magic find version. This is not a boss killer, literally at all. Do not try to boss kill with this version. I'll have examples for single target later on, but this version is just magic find. Now, the reason Corpsewade are absolutely way too overtuned is because these skill decompose. If we take a look at my decompose, you can see I have a level 23 decompose. And it says poison enemies as though dealing chaos damage equal to 41% of corpse life. To give you some perspective, Detonate Dead in PoE 1 was the meta skill for 5 years. It blew up corpses at a value of 9%. These boots say 41. I do not know how these are in the game as they are, but who cares? That's not my job. Now, as you can see, even though in the background I'm just walking around and things are dying, there's actually a lot going on. There's a lot of thresholds you need to understand. So I'm gonna go step by step and explain exactly what the hell is happening. The first thing you need to understand is obviously they're called Corpsewade because they have to walk over a corpse. So you kill a mob, in our case I'm using Hex Blast, then we walk over the corpse, the poison gas spawns. Poison works differently in PoE 2. You can only have one maximum poison in PoE 2. You have to increase the maximum stacks. Here's a visual example. On our skill, I have comorbidity. Dude, I can't with these names. It says targets can be affected by +1 poison. Go to the skill tree and you can see there's another one here that says +1 poison. This means we can now have 3 poisons on a target rather than that. You can also get more on the other points of the tree, but obviously, as you can see in the background, they were not needed. Once the mob is poisoned, this is where contagion comes in. Contagion will then carry that poison to other targets nearby, and that is why you see the entire screen get obliterated, because there are 3 stacks of poison that have been detonated for 40% of a mob's HP, flying through the entire screen. That is potentially hundreds of thousands of damage, potentially million damage depending on what I blew up. And this is why these are insane. So to summarize, kill a corpse, get the poison cloud, use contagion to spread the poison, everything dies around you. This is also why this does not work for killing bosses, because we have no corpses, and trust me, I've spent 2 million gold and 300 exalts trying to make the minions have enough HP. It does not work. Just trust me, I'll explain more later. For now, that should be enough for you to have a general understanding. Let's go through the skills. Now, Decompose is a chaos ability, so it does gain levels from plus to all spells. So we link it with, I don't know what that name is, Deadly Poison for more damage, Swift Affliction, again, more damage, and Magnified Effect. So even though Contagion does carry the poison, sometimes maybe the mobs didn't spawn or, for whatever reason, I find just having that area of effect is nice. We don't really need more damage. If you did want more damage, just put in Conk Effect and let Contagion carry it around. Next up, we are running Grim Feast. No minion abuse, nothing. We're just running the generic standard version. We kill so many mobs in front of us that we can just kind of walk around and still get to 8,000 to 9,000 energy shield pretty consistently. Now, this is where things are going to get complicated. You're going to have to min-max your character if you want to run Blink. I did, I'll explain with my gear later, but I am running Blink. Obviously, Corpsewade have 10% movement speed. They are terrible. So you need Blink in my opinion. A little expensive to fix, but definitely doable. Link it with Ingenuity and Mobility. Mobility is not necessarily needed, but screw it, it's one link, who cares? Just try it without it, it doesn't really matter. Alright, next we have Hex Blast. This is obviously what we use to kill our first mob. Hex Blast is complicated. It works different in PoE 2 than it does in PoE 1, but basically it still just scales off of curses. The more curses you have on a target, the more damage it does. The problem is that it has a ridiculously high mana cost, and its cast time is terrible. That is why I scaled for Corpsewade rather than Hex Blast. If you wanted to do single target, in my opinion, the first thing that comes to mind is probably crit, but we'll explain more later. For now, I'm running Controlled Destruction, Conk Effect, Arcane Tempo, and Venom, so we get a 100% chance to poison with Hex Blast, and then Inspiration, because like I said, the mana is awful. I have Essence Drain here. You can feel free to try out Essence Drain, put it in. I found that I didn't really need it, but obviously it's here as a theory, potential, alternative, whatever you want to do with it. Blasphemy. Blasphemy is mandatory for Hexblast. Before you start using Hexblast, you need to have Blasphemy on. Hexblast needs a curse to do damage. Your first curse will be Despair. It costs 60 spirit per curse, so you need 120 spirit to run 2 curses. Despair, Temporal Chains. You may be wondering why Temporal Chains. If you don't know, poison is based off of duration. If you read that line there, it says, other effects on cursed enemies expire slower. This works with poison. It works the same way as it did in PoE 1. So Temporal Chains is a more multiplier for poison, basically, by making the duration last insanely long. Also, the slow is ridiculous, as you can see in the background. Nothing's really hitting me, and even if it does, it's super slow. It pretty much dies instantly. Now, for our Wither stacking, we are using a Dark Effigy. I almost never use this because, well, like I said, I'm not even trying to bother kill bosses, but if you did want to use it, you can use Ancestral Urgency, Withering Touch. This builds Wither. Wither works the same way as it did in PoE 1. One stack of Wither is 5% increased damage. This stacks up to 10. That is 50% increased damage, but it says increased damage taken. So this is 50% more damage, not 50% increased damage. It's insane, but like I said, I hardly ever use it. And last, we run Contagion. It's just the spreader. You use a Hinder, Chaos Mastery, Unleash, and that's it. Realistically speaking, the only things I really use at any point is just Contagion and Hexblast. 100% feel free to experiment with anything here. I spent a lot of hours and time messing with everything, but I miss stuff all the time. This is what I found works for me. Now, on to the gear. My gear, like I said, is Magic Find based. So I am not going for massive single target. I am simply going for Magic Find and just enough defense so I don't die. My weapon is +4 chaos spells. Obviously you can either go with a staff or not. I highly recommend though you get high cast speed. Like I said, Hexblast has a terrible cast time. It's awful. I think cast speed is mandatory. Everything else, get what you can afford. For my helmet, obviously I went for high rarity and just res, nothing special there. The shield, capping my res. I do recommend you go with block chance. If you're going to try an alternative version, not Magic Find, you can get to 6,000, 7,000, 8,000 ES. Then you can probably get damage on this. You can either go with a staff, go for chaos damage, cast time, or cast speed. But I prefer the shield because it makes me feel tankier, and I actually like, having 41% block chance than having 0. Otherwise you get stunned and life is miserable. Okay, now here's where things get complicated, so listen up. My amulet has a lot of life and it has a lot of spirit. It also has +1 skills. Like I said, +1 works on the boots. You are going to be extremely tight on spirit if you copy my version. If you want to run Blink. If you're just fine not running Blink, then life is a lot easier. You don't even need the spirit roll, but Blink is 60 spirit. So you have to get a lot of spirit. HP is converted to spirit as an Infernalist. As you can see on the note over here, we gain 1 spirit per 25 life. So with this amulet having this much HP and this much spirit, I am 5 over, so I can run Blink. If you do not want to run Blink, whatever. Otherwise, you're going to need potentially some HP. Spirit roll, this maxes out at 46. Your other option is potentially a Ventor's Gamble with spirit, but this is what I ran to get my spirit maxed. My chest piece is just generic, no rarity, trying to get my res fixed as much as I can. The rings are high chaos res, rarity. The other ring, same thing, chaos damage, cast speed. The gloves, rarity, res capping. The belt, you could go for HP, that could be an option for spirit. I just went for resistances, and obviously the boots, they're mandatory. I don't have them, but you can get a corrupted pair with 2 sockets. I should do that, but right now I am kind of dirt broke because I keep spending my money to experiment with stuff, and my resistances are fine. If I just put some sockets in, I would cap my res, but I'm kind of saving it just to see if I potentially change things because, that's how jewel sockets work. They're permanent. Now, here's the deal. Like I said, Hexblast has a ridiculous mana cost. I am running Pyromantic Pact. If you do not know what this does, it's better to show you than to tell you. Basically, I do not have mana. I build up this bar on the bottom right. Once it's up here, I blow up and I take about, was that 1500 damage? Sometimes you ignite yourself, sometimes you don't. You can build it up one more time. Probably won't be ignited. We got ignited. Okay, I'll just go fuck myself. But yes, this means that you can go for capped fire res and things like that to try to mitigate that. I find that this is easier to deal with than trying to work around a potentially 200 mana cost Hexblast. This is 100% optional. You do not have to run this. I just found a way to make it work. but it solves your mana, and it means that on our tree, you can get more damage, more energy shield, rather than focusing on mana. Take Altered Flesh. Overcapping your fire res is good. Very defensive layer. Beidot's Will, obviously, for the spirit. For the last point, I would just take Beidot's Hand. This is going to be a couple hundred ES. I think this gets me to 6,000, quick math, something like that. Now the tree is very generic. There's really nothing special about anything. This is just AoE. This is energy shield. You will need to take these nodes. Without these nodes, you will get stunned by everything. With these nodes, stun's not really a big issue. Okay, to give you a visual indicator, I felt like this was better to do this. You see right here, this node is 40% ES, but it says 10% reduced maximum life. If you've been paying attention, life equals spirit. So right now I have 11, lower my HP, it goes down to 5. Keep this in mind when you're trying to fit around Blink. You may or may not take this node, depending on how much spirit you need, how much life you have, if you want to run Blink. These things matter, they're very technical. This is gonna 100% depend on your gear. The easy version is to just say, whatever, I don't care about Blink, I'm just gonna walk around in circles and kill everything. Curse effect, energy shield, int is good. Again, you probably need these nodes because recharge. Every now and then, obviously, when you're walking around, you're hitting mobs. Sometimes there's a rare, you gotta hit it a couple times. Having this recharge kick in a little bit quicker is nice. You could go for even more recharge, especially, but you know, find what makes it work for you. This was just enough for me. You have this, Wither Away, like I said about Wither, more damage. So this is just nice to get that upfront damage. Gain damage as chaos. This does work with chaos damage. That's just, you know, gain damage as extra has always just been a flattened number. And then the most important nodes are probably the poison duration, magnitude. If you do not know what magnitude does, just think of it as more damage. It's just whatever it says it is, it's just more damage. This is with the way we're playing, this is 100% increased poison duration. That's why when I walk through something, it it dies off screen, is because the poison duration is like 4 seconds. Yeah, it's like 4 seconds long. 4 seconds long with probably 600,000 damage per second. I mean, everything's dying. And of course, like I said before, +1 poison. You can go down here. It's one of these poison nodes, but basically it gives another +1 poison. I don't find that I need this. I haven't anointed anything. If I was going to anoint anything, honestly, I would probably just anoint something mana related or just whatever you need. Maybe recharge. Energy shield recharge would probably be a good idea. Something like that. Feel free to anoint what you want. My amulet has a sharpened claw anoint. Not that big a deal. Alright, welcome to the section where I talk about all of my testing and mistakes and my thoughts about single target. I think if you wanted to do single target and you didn't want to play the Corpsewade build, I am working on a demon form Hexblast character. Once I farm some more money and more gold, I will start playing that, work on it. That video will come out later. I have some secret tech that I haven't seen anybody use yet. Hopefully it works. If it doesn't, you're never going to see it. I hide my shame. I don't show it off. Now, I did mention earlier that, I tried minions, so here is exactly what I did. I used a scepter for a lot of spirit so I could summon minions, minion HP, and I ran this chest so minions revive faster because sacrifice makes your minions spawn at about 11 seconds duration. It's terrible. The lowest I could get it was 5.5 seconds. That simply is not enough. If we go over here, let's turn on a skeleton. Now, this is obviously not the correct HP, but with minion HP nodes, I was able to get it to about 9,000 without investing a ton. The highest I could probably foresee it getting ever is like, what, 17,000 with meat shield? It's simply just not enough. With 5.5 seconds, the gas cloud only could last up to 3.75 seconds. Obviously, this is a lot of technical math, but I came to the conclusion that this was just not happening. So I gave up. I don't think it's possible to make minions spawn fast enough, kill the boss, poison it, and it actually feel like you're playing the game. It can kill a boss. I just don't advise it. It's terrible. Like I said, I think you should go for crit, single target Hex Blast. I think a Blood Mage going for crit is probably the most obvious. Maybe there's another ascendancy that can make it work, but I will be trying to get the demon form online because she's demon mommy, and if she can step on me, I would sure be happy. That's it for the build. Obviously, there's a lot of thresholds. Feel free to ask questions. Have a good one. I'll catch you later.